How are you?
Hey, nice to meet you. Andrew. Oh,
Yeah.
good name.
Yep.
How's everything?
Yes.
I heard you're a vlogger as well.
Yeah,
Alright.
well, so I have a podcast I just started recently. I have an Instagram, so... So my name is Andy Proctor, and I am with More Happy Life. You can find me at morehappy.org, and you can also find me on Instagram at morehappylife.
So, one of the things that I will tell you that is so cool about hearing you talk about the happiness part of it.
Yeah.
So, the science of happiness has moved, and I was super resistant the last 10 years.
Yeah.
When Marty started in the book Flourish, started using well-being, and that there was so much negative pushback in the scientific community about the use of happiness. I kept saying, but wait a minute, that's what people understand. I can't talk about well-being.
Right.
It has only been your generation that is now teaching me that they understand what well-being is.
Yeah.
And that what I would offer to you is what I've learned the hard way. Step into the conversation for those you are helping with the conversation of well-being. Move it away from happiness. Yes.
Yeah.
Which isn't as grounded as everything they're teaching us here.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is your generation that will push the envelope.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Yeah, that's my goal. I mean, it really is.
It really will. No, it will, because you came into the game accepting, tell me how old you are, if you will.
I'm actually 33.
33. So you're sitting in a room on meditation.
Right.
You're a male sitting in a room. I've got to tell you, when I was 33 years old, you did not exist. Unless you were in religious training somewhere.
No, it's so true.
And I have a high respect for that.
Yeah.
You are coming into your decades of success and fulfillment with tools that we had to struggle to fit into our lives without anyone knowing, because we didn't want people to think that we weren't really serious about being successful.
Right, exactly.
And you get to start that much further ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely. I want to kind of meld the two together.
Yes.
And there's kind of the a lot of people call it the fluffy happiness side that that's not grounded, like you said, in the research. And then there's the, kind of the high golden tower of academia.
Correct.
Where, on average 7 journal articles get read, from peer-reviewed journals.
Right.
Or by 7 people. And so how do you blend the two together? That's kind of that's my goal, is to help people to see the importance and the impact that it could make.
Right.
But at the same time, keep it keep it fun, keep it
and I'm gonna
entertaining,
tell you, that's
and
what
things like
I
that.
want so much. I have been playing
awesome.
that game because when I got introduced to this work, it was, I knew I already had my doctorate. I wasn't going to be a researcher. That wasn't what I wanted to do. But Marty's training with us was specifically guided. Please get this out as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so it hit its bumps in the road.
Right.
And where I feel the great difference can be is that where in the 80s or 90s in the behavioral sciences, we used to say that, the soft stuff of psychology is now the hard stuff of results.
Yeah.
But no one was buying it.
Right.
Now, there is no meeting that I can't go into where whatever they are trying to achieve strategically, there will be some information that has done some, impact. Like today, I'm here in part because I very much wanted to hear Sharon and Barbara speak.
Yeah.
But the other part of it was I am working on a proposal for a healthcare organization, a huge healthcare organization, where we're trying to increase how civil people in the workplace are to each other. Not how they are to their patients, how they actually treat each other.
That's interesting.
Okay, so just think about what we learned today. doing a meditation that starts with, I am safe, I am at ease,
Yeah.
and then going into, may I wish you safety,
Right.
thinking of the people you work with.
Absolutely.
This, and then being able to show them the charts that say,
Yeah.
the science says this works.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, it is. It's very, very correlated because
Yeah.
if these professionals feel positively about their colleagues
Correct.
as well as their patients,
Correct.
then, according to the broaden and build theory from Dr. Friedrichsen, then they're going to be much more effective in
Correct.
diagnosing and all these different things that they're doing.
And I'll
for
tell
their
you, where
job.
I've centered my work up until this time is on the individual, because I cannot get you to understand why you should be nice to the other if
Right.
you are not first being that way to yourself.
Oh, yeah,
If you're not
absolutely.
shaming
Yeah.
yourself, if you're not,
Yeah.
if you're not taking good personal care. So when I develop programs, and when I work with people, all I care about is you.
Yeah. Yep.
Because once you do that for yourself, you will naturally progress to understanding why you should do it, even for the most awful person in your life.
Yeah. Right.
Which is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I liked what she said about kind of secretly buying somebody a cup of coffee.
Yes, yes.
Without doing it, but in your mind.
Correct.
Because it can help,
Exactly. Just showing any degree of kindness, like in your mind towards that
Yeah.
person, what it's doing is shifting you.
Right.
And it's calming you down from whatever negative thoughts you may be thinking about that person.
Absolutely.
And then there's the possibility that they'll actually respond to that.
And you stop thinking about what are they thinking about me,
Right.
and
Hands down.
you turn to, well, I just this kindness towards
Yeah.
the others. So.
Yeah. Do you want to sit down?
Sure. Yeah.
So I saw on your Instagram that you have 10,000 people following
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does your work look like today?
So what I do is I share things on a daily basis. On Instagram, there's just the pictures and the videos you can post to your timeline. Then you can also post to your story.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new feature they have. You can do live as well, Instagram
Mm-hmm.
Live. So it's really neat. I've been just kind of playing with it.
Okay.
I have other Facebook pages that have, not with regards to positive psychology, but in other businesses I have that have a lot more than
Mm-hmm.
just the 10,000. But I wanted to experiment with Instagram because it's where my generation is going.
Absolutely.
Snapchat, Instagram, and I think Instagram's probably gonna.
So
take over
help me
Snapchat.
understand
So-
why. Because it wasn't the immediate medium that I took to.
Yeah.
It felt redundant.
Yeah, no, right. It can.
And then, for some reason, there was this mass migration of your generation.
Yeah.
Why?
That's-
What's the appeal?
That's a really good question. It's tough, and from a business standpoint, I think you have to kind of pick your battles.
Correct.
Like, okay, I'm going to focus on whatever. Some
Correct.
people focus on podcasts. Some
Yep.
people focus on videography.
Yeah,
some
and I
people
love video.
Which is great.
Yep.
No,
I
and
love video and people.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a very strong take, and I think my focus is going to be Instagram.
Okay.
It's going to be podcasts, and it's going to be video.
Okay.
So whether
Yeah.
it's YouTube or wherever it goes, Facebook.
I'd say the
actually-
only thing we're adding to that is the new group that's a bit more intimate on Facebook.
Yeah,
Because I've
yeah.
had a fan page for a very long
Absolutely.
time. But with the
Yeah.
help of Andrew, we are creating a group.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that was, I do it far more judiciously today
Yeah.
because everything about me is business oriented.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to tell everyone, which I have many times on video, that, these things have not made me money, but they have expanded who I reach
Absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
ways that I used to be controlled how I could get access to.
Yeah.
And now that control does not exist.
Yep.
Now, what you do with that,
Yeah.
what how you use that still needs to be managed in the same strategic manner that
Yeah.
you manage most things within your business decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah.
So there's a question that I always love to ask people, and it's about, when I meet you 5 years from now, this learning that you've had, the way you've combined your love of technology, what does it look like for yourself as a business and for others who interact with you?
Yeah, so a couple of different pieces to the answer of that question. So Marty Seligman's talked about Perma 51.
Yep.
So, there's this great focus on helping 51% of the world's population to be measurably flourishing by 2051. So it's a huge moonshot goal.
It is.
And I've asked actually quite a few of the, big positive psychologists, do you believe this is actually possible? And if so, how?
Mm-hmm.
And he talks briefly about it in his book at the end,
Yep.
some positive computing and positive journalism, positive
Correct.
education, positive business,
Correct.
all these things. And so I want to be as much a part of each one of those as I possibly can. And so I'm starting, because I have a background in social media
Right.
and internet marketing, digital
Correct.
marketing, I'm starting with that
Great.
because I feel like journalism is kind of changing. I've looked at, and maybe you've read Michelle Goeglein. I don't know if she's here. I don't think she's here, but Sean Akers' wife.
Oh, Sean. Okay,
Yeah.
so they gave us a magazine yesterday.
Live Happy.
She has an
maybe-
article with Sean in it.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
I knew that I had just read her name, and she at first at the beginning of the article she just mentions my husband Sean, and I thought that's got to be Sean Akers.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
powerhouse happiness couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But her book is called Broadcasting Happiness.
Correct, because she used to be a
Exactly.
broadcast journalist.
Yeah, and so I read her book maybe a year or so ago when it came out, and she talks about transformative journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even add to that and say that to her concept of transformative journalism, I want to take everything in from what she said of being a responsible journalist, and push that onto all of the social media experts out there, all the
Sure.
the social influencers
Right.
out there, because some social media influencers out there have a bigger reach
Right.
themselves
Right.
than all the news channels combined.
Correct.
And so that social media, individual influencer marketing is the new journalism.
Correct.
I believe that.
And I have to say that back in 2007 when I started doing a small TV segment called Books That Matter,
Yeah.
I was in positive psychology at that point 3 or 4 years and made it my goal to bring their books forward because there hadn't been a real platform at that point.
Yeah.
And I, to this day, in my blogs, will go back to what I call the founding books.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think it's critical for us to remember where this comes from and to know what the evolution, so that
Absolutely.
you will continue to teach it going
Yes.
forward, never losing sight of how it has evolved
Yep.
and the benefits, and then those things that didn't work and how they corrected. Building a strong history is our responsibility,
Yeah.
mutually, and I think your generation, which I will say fed in too quickly to denigrating and the evaporation of facts
Yeah. Yeah.
a little too fast.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an obligation to up your game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree, and I think a part of the responsibility. So it's mixing the transformative journalism together with influencer marketing.
Correct.
And if we can be responsible in our journalism,
Right.
like you said, make sure that you have that grounding. And I think right now, like you said, it's in social media. It's like a tweet is like what? How many characters? Right. It's very short.
Very short.
Instagram post. The longest video you can have on Instagram is 1 minute.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
All these little quick things. 24-hour segments that get deleted in 24 hours. Snapchat.
Right.
All these quick things.
Right.
Sound bites.
Correct.
But I think that we can use the sound bites to then attract the attention,
Yep.
because we're competing for attention. And then once you have their attention, get them to dive deeper.
Okay, so
That's my
here was the challenge from the beginning, and we clearly are living in the blown-up version of this challenge, where negative headlines, the first few words are actually what generates, because the brain pulls in on the fear and you attach into something.
Right.
Do you have any hint as to how you're going to get your message out there and attract the positive level? How to bring people, because I've been very resistant in my own marketing. You know, they're always find out what people's pain are, talk about their pain, and it's like, I don't want to talk about their pain. I want to talk about the fact we actually know how to make that pain go away, that you do not have to live in pain.
Yeah.
And trust me, it doesn't sell. I've got to like put out marketing stuff that talks about how hard it is, and you know, are you struggling, and are you sick of not having love in your life? And I feel like saying smack, 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 smack.
I know. I totally agree. That is a very difficult.
But
barrier,
I'm looking to the yous of the world and the Andrews of the world, the Andys and the Andrews of the world, to really push that game, because we've got to. I feel that we have lived with that narrative, that negativity sells.
Yep.
That we must change the narrative.
Yep. Yeah.
And
I agree.
it means that your generation in particular has got to turn your back on things that aren't credentialed enough, that are not, credible enough, that don't bring you up at every moment.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't hear about the suffering of refugees or the potential of South Korean bombings or any of the things that you should rightfully know about and be cautious of. But does that mean that in your day-to-day life, like, I'd rather inspire you to know what the real threat of North Korea is, and to be, so that you can then help those in your community, those in government, make decisions that you're willing to stand behind. That's the way my brain kind of works with this. It isn't the way it works.
Right.
I mean, I just, it's not the way it works. People they'd much prefer to be scared crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
I don't get that. It's
Yeah.
not how I want to live my life.
Right.
And yet I'm highly informed.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be informed by you telling me something horrible.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay to not have to be the ones who report the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a need for the positive alone, the positive side alone.
Okay.
And I think we can focus on that. It's James Pawelski used an analogy that I really like, where he says basically it's like a genie or some superhero comes and says, hey, I'm going to give you a choice between a red cape and a green cape. And the red cape, if you get the red cape, then you can eliminate all the bad in the world.
Right.
And then if you get the green cape, you can increase the good.
Right.
Which cape would you choose? And so he ended up saying, well, I think we should have a hybrid cape, where you can flip it, a two-sided cape.
Why do I have to make a choice?
Right. But I think he was talking about how the positive of positive psychology is all about green cape.
Okay. Yeah,
so
great.
I liked that metaphor.
I do too.
Because I'm the type of person who I want to change the world too, and I want to help the negative stuff.
Correct.
But I don't know if it's my role. I think it's okay if it's somebody else's, and I can. My role.
Why can't you
is
just?
To
One of the things that
positivity.
right, and one of the things that I have been feeling more and more as things have gotten more open and there's so much, the volume is so great that taking conversations smaller, narrowing them down to a deeper level. T. Boone Pickens had a line about how he would judge, what business, make sure that you go, a foot wide but a mile deep.
Right.
And I think that that's what each of us who fall in love with this work and really want to get it out there will find different ways and different communities of people who are receptive, need the work, want to be brought up by it, and then they will move on, and we will move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's
Yeah.
good.
Now, Mr. Andrew, you want to get in this with us?
You guys
You're here
are
too.
so profound. I guess you were asking him a question about what is the way to communicate, right? What works? I don't know if that question was answered because we were talking about
Oh, I don't
pain.
even remember the.
'Cause we're
right.
selling pain so
How do
much.
you?
In 5 years.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
no.
Or the,
In marketing, when you're trying to market in a
Yeah.
positive way, what works?
In a positive way. So here's my opinion.
Okay.
Because I've been studying about amusement and humor.
Okay.
And,
Oh, humor works.
you know, it's interesting
Oh my
because
gosh.
negativity sells, right?
Yes, it does.
And because it's the thrill factor, it's our negativity bias. It's our brain wired to be much more stimulated
Correct.
by equal amounts of negativity than positivity.
Absolutely.
So, but amusement actually does work because
That's
it's
right.
it's a social trigger. It
And
makes us so
that-
entertaining education.
And believe me, I
That's
had
my
not really thought about that, but I had remembered many years ago someone saying that the reason comedians make jokes after a crisis is that it's actually a way to begin to neutralize and feel what really happened.
Yep.
So they start making what appears to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're making fun of that, but in fact they're doing a great service by allowing you to begin to process without going into the rage.
Yeah.
You go in, and I never thought about that from the
Yeah.
standpoint of marketing.
Yeah, and-
I feel very comfortable with jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if I can't
exactly.
remember
You
the
can definitely
punchline of them.
yeah. Well, and it's a way because we all crave this emotional release
Absolutely.
because we're so uptight, and
Yep.
so it's a socially acceptable way to allow for emotional release.
Absolutely.
And we need so much more of it, I think.
Andrew, we have our work cut out for us. You got to find me a comedian to write taglines. That's what you need.
Is it
I,
him?
Yeah, you want to write taglines? You know, Andy, there may be a future
social,
here.
it's what's it called? Non-serious social incongruity. It doesn't just have to be jokes.
Works for me.
It can be anything that's non-serious, but that's kind of goofy, you know?
You know what? We just
Outside
may
of
give.
your comfort zone,
Correct.
that people know your comfort zone, and you do something different. That's all it takes. All right, Andrea, tell me how you say your last name, because I don't want to say it wrong.
Phonetically, it's Gigline. Goeglein.
Goeglein.
Yes,
Okay.
so just don't look at the lips.
Goeglein. All right, Andrea Goeglein.